It's now time to take a deep breath because I'm going to tell you about the history of me and my Amiga. My history with the Amiga begins when I was around 5 or 6 years old. We had an Amiga 500, it ran at around 7 megahertz and had 1 megabytes of RAM, but it was still good. I mean, it was brilliant for the time. This isn't my photograph, but the freaky thing about it is that Project X floppy disk looks almost identical to the one we had. I also remember that Amiga mouse, the official Amiga mouse, where the button would wear out and eventually you'd have to sit on the button to press the freaking thing. When I was around 11 or 12 years old, early high school days, I started writing music on my Amiga 500. My father bought me an Amiga 1200 eventually, which had a Motorola 14 MHz CPU and 2 megabytes of RAM, double the A500. I loved this machine. I did so much with it. Not long after, I installed a 100 megabytes hard drive in it, yet having friends and family constantly badgering me to ditch the Amiga and go for a PC. I did get a PC, but I held strongly onto my Amiga. Yet the badgering continued, and they were purely looking at the practical angle of it. Little did they understand. But I dug my heels into the ground and kept hold of it. These are actually not my photographs, they're photographs I found of identical hardware which I had. Unfortunately, all this was before my photography days. Digital cameras were just coming out and were expensive. The only photograph I have of my setup from my disposable film camera is the one I took of my gamer cousin playing on my PlayStation 1. You can see that in my PC in the far corner, it was a Pentium 2, 233 megahertz, or was it 266? I'm not sure, I can't remember. Also, you will notice my vintage hi-fi setup above it. That is the same Technics SUV2 amp, which you've seen in my other videos, as well as my JVC KDA5 cassette deck. Above it was a JVC turntable, and the other little Ferguson hi-fi next to it, which vanished off the face of the earth. No idea where that went. At the bottom here, you can see that I had more than one Amiga 1200. What's not in frame is the little 600 that was hiding there, and which these things were available cheap back then. The second Amiga I practically got for peanuts at a yard sale or car boot sale. Fully working, no yellowing, perfect. When I started college, and after a lot of saving up, I decided to go for the iTech Easy Tower. The one which fits a PC and the Amiga in the same case. This eventually led me to some juicy upgrades for my Amiga. I even got zip drives. Zip drives, you remember these? I got one for the PC, one for the Amiga. These things, they would hold 100 megabytes each. Oh, if you want to get the more expensive one, 250 megabytes, but mine were just hundreds. They were basically like small hard drives, but removable, if you want to call it that. Faster than floppies, slower than hard drives. But I used them with Crusta 7 and the perfect transfer files between Amiga and PC. It was perfect, and not to mention CD-ROM drives too I got for the Amiga. The Blizzard PPC 68040, I said that right? 68040, with 128 megabytes of SIM RAM and 8 megabytes V-Vision graphics card. My Amiga was flying by this time, and I loved it. So, what happened? Well, after year 2000 and the early 2000s, you remember those badgering badgers who kept badgering me to get a freaking PC? Well, they were still badgering me, and they eventually got the better of me. Around 2004, 2005, I sold my Amiga Tower. Freaking why? I regret it so much now. I know the prices have shot up for Amigas right now, especially my beloved Amiga 1200, but that's not the reason why I regret. Era mi Amiga. It was my 1200. The sad part of it is I still had the second A1200. This is the part that really kicks me. Really kicks me because it was basically a second chance. I still had the second A1200, which I didn't build into a tower, but I modded it and put a compact flash card in it and a laptop DVD-ROM drive in it too. Those freaking badgers showed up, and after a couple of years, we're talking 2009, I sold it. After that, I learned my freaking lesson and banished those freaking badgers. I'm stubborn now, I don't listen to anybody else. Yet, I only have emulators. However, the positive thing I can say is that I still have the backups of my original hard drives, which thankfully I saved, and I use now with my emulators. I don't wish to leave this video on a depressing note, so I will show you one of my favorite games. What happened in the past has happened. I made a mistake twice, I learned from it, so that's life. This is another one of my favorite games, and it's exclusively on the Amiga, and it's one of those, it's those for the vinyl record fans and the music fans and the instrument fans, and I think that's why I liked it so much. Another game I used to be hours. The simplicity of this game, I think the story behind it, if there is a story, is that you have to match the colors, get the record, and put it on the corresponding turntable. And I think the story was like the musical instruments, which are the enemy in this game, they're the ones that are trying to get you because you are taking away the classical music and, you know, rock and roll is taking over. And I think that's, you're the one on the rock and roll side who's, you know, putting the vinyl records on the turntables. And the instruments are obviously not happy about that. Okay, second level, there's an instrument here, a trumpet, which is after you. Make this one into a green one. Kinda gets challenging as the levels go by. Okay. He's not happy about that. I'm gonna get to that teleport. Okay, hold on. Of course, go to the next one. There's some instruments, I mean, each instrument acts differently, and some instruments will completely follow you. The trumpet is unpredictable. The cymbals are stupid, they just go round and round. Like back here, you'll see the cymbals. They're just going round and round. They're not even aware of your existence. And you could put cassettes down, like cassettes here, to stop the, you know, guy from, stop the cymbals from like coming and getting you. I collected a thing earlier on, which allows you to collect 2 records at once. You can see at the bottom left of the screen, there's a red and there's a green. Now I've just put it in, so you can just go. I don't like this trumpet, I don't know where he's gonna go. Make up your... Thank you. He's back again. And then you have this freaking guitar. This idiot just freaking magnetizes to you. Just doesn't let you do anything. Oh, let's put him to sleep for a while. Okay, while we do that, let's just make these colors. I should have done the yellow one because it's kind of... Let's have some Coca-Cola. Oh, pizza! Mmm! Oh, snooze. Sleep. At least I'll stop him from... Oh! Forgot about that one. Just one time for my freaking joystick to get stuck. Stupid thing. You freaking go away. Oh, I've got cassettes. Why didn't I use them? I think you've seen enough of this. And that's Jumping Jackson. I want to thank you so much for listening to my story, and also I hope you enjoyed the game. It is one of my favorites. Thank you so much for your likes, your comments, and also do subscribe for more. For now, I will say adios.